The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Jim.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Friday in the Red.
And we got lots and lots of things to talk about. And we might as well hit it off right at the beginning about, guess what? COVID-19. Imagine that.
What a surprise.
What?
It's a very rarely discussed topic. So what are we
Yeah, we don't discuss that too often. The city is finally seeing the proper surge. Yesterday, we received 47 new cases, with bringing the total up to 314. Now, there was a correction in the numbers, but that's a huge jump because the labs didn't report the numbers back correctly to the city. That's what the mayor said. I'll have to take him at his word. But there you are. I lost you for a second there.
Yeah, for some reason I was buffering, but then I'm back on the air. So
Okay.
I could hear you through the entire thing.
Okay. But so again, we're up to 314. So we're now starting on that upward slope for the curve. And so flattening the curve, we're going to have to see. So it's more important now to do the necessary masking, social distancing, do what you wash your hands frequently, do what you need to do to keep things safe for yourself and for others. And remember, wearing a mask isn't just for you. It's also to protect other people. So we'll have to go from there.
Well, I'm off the edge. This stinking connection is I'm really getting irritated now. I think I'm going to call Xfinity over the weekend. I'm getting tired of this Verizon.
You have to call them today because over the weekend they won't do anything. You're back.
Okay. I'm back. All right. Well, like a bad penny. This time I'm actually on the other screen too.
Yep. So you're back now. So,
The coronavirus and the apogee.
yeah, and the numbers are going up throughout the state, so we're going to see this more and more. And one of the big issues that people had in Fall River was the testing. Nobody knew where the testing was being done, how much was being done, and now the governor or the state has awarded a contract to STAR to do drive-through testing. But you still have to call them for an appointment. If you're not one of their primary care patients, and if you don't have insurance, they want to do a telehealth appointment with you first to see if you should be tested. I think testing should be on demand, not because you are showing symptoms. Everyone should be testing if they want to be tested. And I know for a fact that because I've sent people to STAR against my better judgment in the past to get some assistance, some medical treatment and whatnot, and even for detox services. And what they always tell the people is, you need to be our patient for healthcare. They want to mandate you be their patient in their primary care clinic. And I think that's wrong. If people don't want to use them, that's their choice.
That seems to me to be an abuse of their power.
Well, it does seem to be that way, and I have to really wonder, and this is why I'm so dead set against STAR. I mean, and they've had some great programs which have worked out wonders, like Project Aware. When Project Aware first started, they were doing HIV and AIDS outreach, and they were working with people who had the disease and working on the prevention of the disease. And that program is still in effect, and it's still doing work, but not doing as much work as they were doing in the past, because again, the disease is more controllable now, and we're not seeing as much of the outreach that they used to have. Come on, you're now seeing commercials on TVs for HIV drugs and for PrEP drugs and everything else. So again, times have changed. Now we're going to start seeing it on COVID. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out for people.
Yeah, well, it seems to me that STAR, and I'm not saying they haven't had some good programs, but there are a lot of programs out there that are good, but they seem to have morphed or evolved or devolved, depending on your perspective, into a money machine. That's what they do. They want to drag you into their healthcare system so they can get more money from you. And this is one of the problems with the American healthcare system. We see that happening all over the place. You see doctors have created groups, and then they try to keep you in their facility. That was one of the major problems we had with the initial when HMOs were first developed, and they said they were cost containment. What they were doing was containing your ability to get the proper medical treatment because they even had gatekeeper fees. I know you're familiar with those, where they kept you in their own. You couldn't go outside. We have places like Primacare who fight you tooth and nail if you want to go outside their loop for any service that they offer, which I think is you have the freedom to go where you want, I believe, and I've actually had people come up to me that have issues trying to get out to go to Boston or something to see a specialist they wanted to see, and they have to really fight tooth and nail. It looks like STAR is doing that. But another point I wanted to touch upon, because I've heard that this testing, they only have limited hours.
Right.
Frankly, CJ, I got a problem with that, because here we are talking about these numbers are not accurate. And they're not accurate because in order to be accurate, we're going to have to test everybody to see how many cases, how many people actually had it and got over it without knowing it, how many people have it and are asymptomatic. But we need as much data as we can. And you don't do that by having limited hours. They should have given the contract to somebody who's going to give as many tests as possible every single day. Not limit the amount of tests, limit the hours where they're going to test, because what that does is limit our ability to get accurate numbers on who's infected and who isn't infected. At least that's my perspective.
No, I agree with you. And I really think that what should have happened is that contract from the state should have been given to Health First. And why do I say Health First? Because Health First, number one, isn't a detox facility. A lot of people are going to have second thoughts about going to a detox facility to be tested. Also, Health First is centrally located in the city, easy to get to without any major issues, and it could be in and out. And I doubt that any hours would be limited. But again, this is what STAR wants to do. Now, I don't know if Primacare is still running their drive-through testing or not. I would hope they are, and I'm going to really check on that shortly. But I think that if you're going to give this to somebody, give it to somebody who's kind of neutral. And I don't believe that STAR is neutral in any respect. In any respect.
Well, STAR is for stock. So, and they've obviously got some sway since they're the primary facility to send all the people who are being audited into it. And look, obviously they've got some, they know some people. It's become a multi-million-dollar operation, and they want to make more money. And that's one of the problems with the healthcare system in the United States. It's money-based, not healthcare safe. Healthcare and decisions about healthcare should not be driven by profit. And I still have an old cartoon when HMOs first came out, and it was a guy in bed, all bandaged up with a million IVs hanging from him, and they said, "Well, you're being discharged today, Mr. Smith." And he said, "Yeah, but I'm still sick." They said, "We don't care. The HMO says this is all you get, so you're out of here." So this is the thing, and we all know the horror stories about HMOs not allowing certain tests, diagnostic tests. Well, first you got to take an X-ray. We're not going to authorize an MRI. You can't go to this doctor. Gatekeep. The healthcare in the United States, and we see it, these quote unquote non-profits, where the boards of directors are making $750,000 or $1 million for going to a meeting once a month or once every 6 months, and they call themselves non-profit, but everybody in the upper echelon of these businesses are making a bundle of money.
Right.
It's kind of like Ruth Chris Steakhouse when they got an incentive, they got a stimulus award, and I think their last quarter profits for that steakhouse chain was $42 million for a quarter.
Right.
For a quarter.
But again, that is the legislation's fault. The legislators wrote it so that a small business is classified as any business with 500 employees or less at one location. Okay, so of course, all these big businesses used that loophole and went crazy on it. But now they're starting to give that money back, and accordingly, comments from the federal government are, if you don't give us back that money, we're going to make it miserable for you. And I think that's what they should be doing. They should be getting that money back and putting that money into small businesses. And I don't mean, GameStop. I don't mean, Burlington Coat Factory, or Burlington now. They don't call themselves Burlington Coat Factory. I don't mean Walmart. I don't mean any of these places. I mean mom and pop stores, mom and pop markets, Reese's Market on Alden Street. Maybe they need some. Avu Feast. Maybe they need some. I mean, they're a restaurant. They have employees. Everything that they serve now is going to be outgoing. Some of the smaller markets that are around. These are the places that need the help. It's not these big businesses. They're making money hand over fist. But they figured they're going to line their budget a little bit more for $20 million because that will show up in their profits, and their CEOs are going to take a bigger chunk of change in their pocket and their bonuses.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's the sad commentary on it. And somebody sent me if we can't have a show on our show because every other word was an expletive on it, but it was funny. It's from a comedian talking about the federal government, how they're going to bail out banks and bail out this and bail out that. But now you get a 3-month deferment on your mortgage, but when you come back, you owe 4 months worth of payments.
Right.
And they're not going to tack that 3 months on the other end like they should at the end. So instead of having 10 years and 6 months, you got 10 years and 9 months. So they give you a $1,200 stimulus check, which will barely pay for groceries. And now they defer these other bills, but these bills are all going to come due. Now these other the companies that are deferring it are getting money from a stimulus, but they're not allowing you to truly defer it by saying, okay, you couldn't pay it for 3 months, so now we're going to tack it on the end of this loan, because the reality is, look, you know and I know, CJ, the average person is not going to get back on their feet instantaneously. You go back to work, and a lot of these people are not going to go to work because let's just look at this realistically. Even if we reopen, do you think every restaurant worker is going to get his job back when they're required to cut their tables in half to allow proper distancing? Do you really think that people are going to, just flock to the restaurants to eat when people are still worried about if somebody walks in there that has the virus and the table isn't, if they miss a spot on the table, they may have the virus. The economy is not just going to, people think it's going to, we're going to open up the doors and the economy is going to be cured. This economy may never recover because are they going to maintain this seating requirement forever? And if you cut half your amount of tables, you cut half your profit.
Well, and when you're looking at, right now you're looking at states like Georgia, which are opening today. Today's their day to open. They're opening their barbershops, their beauty salons, their nail salons, and even their restaurants. And the restaurants and all these businesses, we're told you have to maintain social distancing and you have to maintain proper, safety precautions. How can you sit in a restaurant at a booth where there's a booth connected to you right behind you? You can't. That booth's got to stay empty. And the booth behind you on the other side is going to stay empty so that you're alone. And you got to look at what's off to your right and your left. Are there booths on those sides and are they 6 feet away? So again, you're talking about, like you said, a restaurant, maybe more, maybe a third only being able to open. So this is definitely not going to bounce back. And because of that, you're going to have some of the wait staff that aren't going to be able to come back to work either. So it's not going to be what people think unless they just decide they're going to open up their doors and do what they want. The other big issue that you have is How can you cut someone's hair maintaining social distancing? Now, there's I saw it yesterday, a hair salon, I think it was in Illinois, that's opening its doors anyway in violation of the rules and in violation of the order. And she said she would go to jail to do it because she's going to open her business because her people aren't making any money and they're not able to survive. You can't tell me that, because if you're collecting unemployment, you're collecting what you're supposed to collect from unemployment plus that $600 a week. It's not just in Massachusetts that happens all the way across the country. So you're making more staying at home than you are at work in most cases. So I don't want to hear that you're not able to pay your bills, because you're able to pay your bills if you're collecting unemployment. There's no question about that, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be paying your bills. But when you were talking about these deferments,
people whose claims are delayed, and look, and the thing is that there's no, as we said, there seems to be no sympathy for the plight of the worker who's been displaced and granted. They're not going to stay on unemployment forever. And as you said, look at every industry. If you work on an assembly line, shoulder to shoulder with somebody else, are you going to go back shoulder to shoulder? No. They're going to have to slow the assemblies down. Airplanes, I mean, what are they going to do? I saw something on airplanes yesterday where somebody came up with putting a piece of plexiglass, make it like a cubicle in between seats. But that doesn't mean anything. The person that's sitting in the middle seat or the window seat is going to have to get up and go to the toilet, so they're going to touch the seat backs and everything else. So I mean, it's nuts. And then somebody had a design where the aisle seat and the window seat were facing in one direction with the plexiglass, and the middle seat was turned around and faced the opposite way, which I don't know what the hell that's going to help, but that's okay. But all of these industries are going to be affected. Virtually, I can't think of anything that's not going to be affected. Health clubs. Before they shut down the health clubs, my gym, basically, you couldn't use side-by-side treadmills. They had a treadmill, and they had the next treadmill you couldn't use, and the treadmill on the right and left were empty, and you had another, then you had the other treadmill, which I thought was, that was okay. I don't have a problem with that, because most people on a treadmill get earbuds in, listening to music or something, or watching television. But even that, it cuts down the number of people they can have in the gym, which sometimes cuts down the membership, and because people couldn't go to another gym that's larger where they can get a workout in on their schedule. And all these things, if you get off the cardio stuff, which you can kind of have space, what happens when you go into the weight room and you want to lift weights? You're going to be touching dumbbells that somebody else touched. What are they going to do with the dumbbells? What are they going to do with the benches? The benches are close together. What are they going to do? Every time you finish working out with a dumbbell, they have to sanitize it.
Right.
I mean, in actuality. So, you start looking at this and the problems, the post-virus problems, not only looking forward to some of these people who are saying we may see a resurgence of the virus in the winter, which could be even worse because it's going to be running simultaneously with the flu. I mean, anybody that thinks this economy is going to just skyrocket back and things are going to go back to normal, people, we got a new normal. I hate to tell you this, but we got a new normal here.
Yeah, I agree. And let's look at what happened 2 days ago. The governor announced that the school systems are closed. They're closed for the rest of the year. Now, this creates another big problem. What about the milestones that these students are supposed to have, like graduation, like proms, getting their diploma? What are they supposed to do? Now, according to the Fall River Herald News, the area school leaders are adapting to the news of extended school business building closures, and end-of-year traditions like proms and graduations are being rescheduled to the summer, and some schools are looking into virtual options for these milestone events. That's not what people want. They don't want their graduation ceremony in August. They don't want their prom in August. you know, we're going to have the prom on Thursday or Friday, and we're going to have the graduation ceremony on Saturday. But even then, how are you going to do it? The graduation ceremonies are tight enough as it is. The graduation ceremonies are tight enough as it is. And that's going to make it worse, because how are these people going to be able to get in their family or friends or whoever it may be to come in and watch them graduate? Are they going to just put the diplomas in the mail and mail them out? These are milestones, but even those milestones are now, you know, being torn apart because this is the new normal.
Yeah, and there are other things that people don't even think about. We talk about proms, and that's true. How can you social distance if you go to a prom and you got to dance with your date?
Right.
It's pretty difficult. Not only that, let's look at the other impact that nobody even normally factors in. How about all the places like the Venus and Whites who host proms? They make a lot of money with those events.
Right.
So these facilities that have the proms are not, you know, nobody's going to get a prom. And I know that the Venus used to host a lot of proms from Rhode Island, Providence, East Providence, and stuff like that. They used to go to the Venus as well as a lot of people from this area with Whites and the Venus. But now that business is gone, and all the other businesses, limo services that used to limo kids to the prom, all these other, you know.
The tuxedo stores, the dress designers,
tuxedos, and the purchase of prom dresses and stuff like that. I mean, the impact is it's devastating to so much of the economy. It's just the only arm of the economy that's going to make any money are these companies that have transitioned over to making equipment. And,
right.
You know, they're going to do okay.
The other thing that we have here is the fact that we've closed school down for the rest of the year, academic year. We have no plan yet for September. What we're going to do if school comes back then? Are we going to be able to open the schools up appropriately? Because our school classrooms are very tight in Fall River. They're more than a lot of them more than 30 students. How are you going to make these classrooms where these students can be 6 feet apart? You're going to have to cut the class size down, which means more teachers, which means more classrooms, which means more money. And the school department's already saying they can't meet budgets. Well, guess what? Start cutting those overpaid administrators, and then maybe you'll be able to do some of this. But it's going to have to happen. Something's going to have to happen. The new normal isn't going to be there. And if they're not separating these students, we're just looking at a way for it to start all over again, especially when you're looking from K through 5. K through 5, those kids are all over each other. You know, they're blowing their noses on their sleeves. They're sneezing all over the place. They're not taking care of, and so you've got some issues there. And I really want to see what the Fall River School Department plan is going to be to reopen the schools come September, if they can open in September.
Which will be the month that we're beginning to look at the prospective resurgence. Flu season and maybe the corona resurgence will be coming in the winter. So when they open, we're going to be looking at it. But as you said, think about this. How are you going to have a graduation? You get a family, they can't sit next to another family. You're going to need half of a state to have a graduation. If you put 6 feet between everybody and you got a graduating class of 1,200 students or something like that with their families of 4, do the math.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Are they going to actually be able to do this? Now, I know that BCC has done this where they limit the number of tickets they give out to 2 to 4 tickets, whatever it may be. And then they have the ceremony broadcast to TV sets, like an H building or whatnot, and they air the graduation live on Channel 95. So that's one way to meet some of those other needs. But you've seen those seats when they've set them up. We've been doing this for 6 years or 7 years at the school. You see how they set up those seats for the graduation. They're side by side, front to back. I mean, if you sneeze, the guy in the front row here feels it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this. It really is.
Yeah, because they got it. They put it up on the soccer field, and then they put it under the parking lot with the awnings. But even if you spread everybody out 6 feet, you don't have enough room.
No, you don't, and that's going to be the problem. You're going to be able to limit it to maybe 1 ticket per person, and even then, I think you may not have enough room.
Yeah, and you got to at least let the parents, the mother and the father, and I mean, it would be bad enough if their siblings couldn't attend and watch them walk across the stage. As you said, CJ, this is very it's really tragic because that's a milestone for people. You know, I mean, to watch your child, not only that you had as an infant walk across the stage to get a high school diploma or a college diploma or a graduate diploma, is a great thing for a parent to experience.
It is. It is.
And also, if they have brothers and sisters, not only do you want them to share, because that adds as motivation for them to do the same thing, to follow in their footsteps and get an education. It's just a terrible thing, and this is one of the biggest things that I see is the fact that, you know, okay, prom is prom. A lot of people don't go to their proms anyway, but the reality is the walking across the stage to pick up that diploma, something earned, is a life milestone and lesson that is appreciated by more than the individual. It's the family, the children, and it shows that you know, if you apply yourself, you can get something, and an education is the most valuable commodity you can have, in my opinion.
Well, and look, and our producer over here, our host, just sent us the message that 5,000 seats last year at BCC's graduation. Yeah, now picture 6 feet apart for each of those seats. Okay, that's 6 feet square. That's over 30,000 square feet that they're going to need just for the seats.
Yeah, for the seats. True. And how about the dignitaries on the stage?
Right, because you know all the politicians have to be there.
Yeah, the stage will have to be about a half a mile long.
Yeah.
To sit apart.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to handle graduations, not only this year, but in the future. And like you said, these are milestone events. So some people don't care. It's like, mail me my diploma. I'm really not going to go to the graduation. But when you have kids, and you know, kids, they're 23, 24 years old, going to graduation, they want to be there because their last graduation was high school, which was a major event for them. Now this is college, another major event. Maybe they're going to go on further to a university and get their master's or their doctorate. So those are other major events. They work hard to get those things. They want the recognition. And getting it in the mail is not recognition. Doing it virtually is not recognition.
Yeah, and you brought up another thing. I just thought of something. We're talking about graduations, and it just like popped into my head. I wonder how the military academies are going to handle graduation. Because obviously the military academies have the same problems as all the other schools, but they have an additional problem. They're military schools. They normally march in formation as part of, you know, and these people, during their classes and stuff, they actually have military classes where they have to learn how to march, close order drill, stuff like that. That's part of it. And that's, you can't do that 6 feet apart.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting.
Look, this is an absolute disaster for everybody. We got 1 minute, so we can, you know, hey, everybody, remember, this is probably one of the only shows and the only jab at the city. CJ got one in, but I didn't have. I wanted to get one in before we close. We need a forensic audit. Stop listening to people who don't have numbers.
That's it. Hey, thanks for watching, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe and stay angry.